consider it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, no worries. No, no worries. Nice to meet you guys.
Introduce you.
Hey, man. I'm David.
As well.
Brandon.
Nice to meet you.
All right. So I wanted to ask you about the controller.
Okay.
So I'm guessing it's meant to be like a throwback to something, but what's the idea behind it?
You know what? We use multiple concepts in order to create this, but at the same time, we want to make it unique to our system. And so, you know, this is very unique. This is something that you haven't seen out there.
It's actually really comfortable.
But like I said, you know, we've used the designs of other influences to kind of incorporate, you know, in our own controller.
Okay. And you had talked about if the games don't work, the process for that. Can you re-explain that?
Absolutely. So basically, you know, if you happen to get a card that doesn't necessarily work, we're going to do a big push as far as getting a hold of these cards, working hand in hand with a lot of our fans, so that we can go ahead and get these cards working, and then also sending out mass firmware updates, so we can go ahead and update, you know, all our RetroN 5s to get those cards to work. So, like I said, once this is launched, it definitely is a continuation of a work in progress. So we'll continue to work on it, and you know, it's gonna take the help of all our fans to get us this information, so that we can go ahead and, you know, make everyone satisfied.
Do you have any idea on like a percentage level? Like, let's say I've got a complete set of, you know, each of these systems. Like, what percentage of those games will work right now?
You know what? That's actually hard to kind of give you an actual number, due to the fact that, I mean, essentially it's 9 in 1.
Right.
You know, you're looking at your international, you know, your Japanese games, your Korean games, your European games. So as far as putting a definite percentage to it, I can't even put it.
It's got to be pretty high, though,
oh,
right?
absolutely.
Because you guys have released so many other systems.
Correct.
So you
Correct.
put all that into here.
Correct.
So if it works on an older system, it should work.
Absolutely.
Is it going to be user upgradable? And
as far as,
is it going to be locked? Is like the development of this going to be locked down? As far as like adding additional features?
oh,
Kind of like an app store almost.
you know what? That is something we actually did talk about. It is not confirmed, but it's definitely an option. You know, due to the fact that we have these firmware updates, that definitely is an option that we can go ahead and, you know, if we want to add, you know, small little features here and there, that is definitely a possibility. And we look forward to, you know, seeking into this, seeing what we can add to it. You know, of course, once we do release it, we're gonna get, you know, feedback left and right, and of course, we're gonna take all that into consideration and you know, possibly put out this firmware for these systems.
okay, so does it have? Well, I guess what I'm asking is, does it have SD access?
Yeah. Like, can you break it down
Absolutely.
for us on the camera?
Absolutely.
What is the SD port? Well, go ahead.
Because I'm assuming custom firmware with an SD
Correct.
card.
So the first and foremost, the SD card is going to be used to save game information. For instance, your save states.
What about records of like video footage?
Well, that will be used with a separate device. If you have something like that. Unfortunately, the system will not record on its own, but it will take screenshots.
Okay, that's cool.
You know, so let's say you've hit a major point in the game, you want to show it off to your buddies, take a screenshot, you know, send it out. You'll have access to that through your SD card. As well as, you know, like I said, the firmware updates. In order for us to get this to you, you need to be able to download it from a computer to get it to your system. That'll be through the use of the SD card, as well as the USB transfer cable.
Okay, cool.
Also on the back side, we have the HDMI. It is HDMI only. You know, we were going to incorporate an AV out, but
720 or
720. That's correct. But
5.1 or 7.1.
you know, audio right now is not confirmed yet. We are still working on all the audio aspects. So that is not
Nintendo's
confirmed yet.
mono, so having that, you know.
It will have some sort of stereo effect to it. But you know, like I said, it is HDMI only. So those of you who do not have HDMI TV, which,
come on.
yeah, it's 2013, absolutely. We definitely want to reach a new market. You know, you remember, you know, your Nintendos, you try to connect it to one of your new TVs, it doesn't look as great. So we're you know, this is the one console where we can say, you know, it is better. We made something that is better than the original.
And my understanding, there are going to be filters on here, right?
That's correct.
Are these going to be filters that everybody's familiar with already?
A comb filter, or how
Or are they going to
The
be?
filters are real simple. It's basically audio and visual filters. If you're a type of guy who likes your original pixelated games, you'll have that option. But if you're like me, where you like to upscale these games, you know, you'll have the option. There's multiple filters for the visuals. You can add a widescreen effect. You can take off, add your scan lines, take them off. It's got, you know, multiple audio filters. Right now, we're actually kind of looking into adding a 5-band equalizer. Okay. You know, that way you can, you know, mess with your audio filters. But it's got, you know, the sound enhancements, treble boost, bass boost.
What about like accessibility stuff? Because a lot of games are including colorblind options now.
At this very moment in time, that is not something that we have looked into yet. But once again, due to the fact that this has firmware updates,
That's what I was wondering.
that may be a possibility in the
That's
future.
a big thing right now.
Oh,
for people who are like blind to the green spectrum.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And you know, we want to make sure that we're reaching an audience that's not normal to us, not our normal retro niche. You know, we want to reach out further than that. And so, with that said, there may be a possibility where we may incorporate.
8-bit games are specifically hard for people to talk.
Correct. Correct.
Because of how flat they are.
That's correct. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, that is something that we may venture into in the future.
All right, well, let's finish the breakdown here. So explain to me everything that will fit into this system.
Alrighty, so first and foremost, in the front, we have the Game Boy Advance.
It's actually really
the Game Boy Advance will also play Game Boy Color and Game Boy. We have our Famicom in the front, or on the top side, our SNES, our NES, and our Genesis. Genesis also is, we put it strategically so that you can put the base converter in it as well. And it also plays the Super Famicom as well.
All right, well, I'm really pumped about this Game Boy Advance slot. I think that's going to be awesome.
That is definitely going to be awesome. One big question though we did have with the Game Boy Advance, just to clear it up, is there going to be multiplayer? Due to the fact that the Game Boy Advance uses the link cable in order to play, this won't be functional with that.
Okay.
Once again, it may become in the future, but you know, as of right now, we haven't incorporated.
And that'll work with regular Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, or just Game Boy Advance?
Just Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
I like Super Nintendo, so I'm totally cool with that.
Awesome.
No big deal.
Awesome.
And then you got these ports on the side here. You got the Super, the NES, and the Genesis.
Both sides, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
on both
Yep.
sides here.
Why did you, I mean, okay, you've got obviously the Game Boy Advance there. Why did you decide to put them on the side just because there's more room there?
It was just, yeah, you know, just the fact that we want to make it as, how do I put it, almost as even, you know, we want to make sure that it's evenly distributed. Exactly, symmetrical, yeah. So we wanted to make sure that, you know, one side is not heavily concentrated. We want the system to kind of look very, very equal in itself. And so we decided, hey, look, let's put one of each on one side and another port on the other side.
One other question. This is a home button, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So if you have multiple carts in here, say you're playing Super Nintendo, and you decide you want to go to play Nintendo, will it save where you are on the Super Nintendo game?
Let me clarify. The system will only allow for one cart to be put in. With that said, now let's say you're playing a Nintendo game. You go ahead and you save it, you switch over and play another game. You want to go back to your Nintendo game. You actually physically have to put the cart back in. But yes, the system will take you back to your previous state.
Okay. And you can save anywhere at any time.
Anywhere at any time.
No! Mom! No more kicking the top loader in the credits of Mario 3.